Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be featuring one of my absolute favorite ships, and that is the gorgeous looking Alaska. USS Alaska, the tier 9 free XP. Well, what do they call it? Large cruiser? Battle cruiser? In World of Warships though, it just gets classed as just another heavy cruiser. But the Alaska is so much more. Make no mistake, I do consider the ship to be overpowered for tier 9. It is just, compared to the other tier 9 cruisers, it's just such a massive powerhouse. Moving on, it's the new map and the game mode is Epicenter. Now obviously, if you're playing Epicenter and you're playing a radar cruiser, you want to put yourself in a position where you can threaten and influence the cap control as much as possible. So in the Alaska, this means I want to be pushing up to these islands. I want to be pushing up where my Des Moines is moving right now. I think I was actually tabbed out there for a bit, in case you were wondering the slow speed and in general. There are some replay bugs lately, like the speed shows me going, stopping when I'm actually building up to full speed, and sometimes you have AP selected but you see HE far out of the guns. There are some issues with the replays. Their recent UI overhaul didn't exactly improve the situation when it comes to the replay bugs. Moving on, the Des Moines is pushing up to this island and I actually quite like this position. I get spotted. Now it's worth noting that if you get spotted in the Alaska, it's not necessary that you will be able to radar whoever is spotting you. In this case, Chapayev decides to actually pick a fight with me. I instantly stop and slow down because I want to take this fight. Yeah, I really want to take this fight. Cruisers don't want to fight the Alaska. Alaska loves fighting other cruisers. The reason for this is that you have this super heavy AP with improved pen angles and fantastic penetration, which means any sort of broadside, or in this case a lot of broadside, can be punished very, very heavily. So the Alaska is the definition of a cruiser killer. Any cruisers you can pick a fight with, you absolutely want to take them. You have huge health pool, hard-hitting guns, very rough to Citadel. You just want to be taking all these fights. He thinks he's angled, I'm still hitting him for 11k. Alaska's firepower is no joke, and in general, if you want to fight it in a Chapayev, you should be doing it, farming it from long range, where the slow shell velocity makes it hard to land shells. At 11 kilometers, it's not really that hard to land these Alaska shells, as this poor Chapayev quickly found out. A fast first blood. What I started talking about there was the difference between this and something like a Stalingrad or Kronstadt or similar ships. If you get spotted in Alaska, you won't necessarily be able to radar the ship that is spotting you, because the concealment is almost 12 kilometers on this thing and the radar is only 10 kilometers. So I took a gamble there with the radar, hoping I would spot whatever was spotting me, but I didn't catch it. There was something else, I think, on that flank. I think there's a DD pushing in potentially that flank. Still, I managed to kill off their radar ship, and I am getting some resets in on this Grozovoi. We do have a big issue developing on the map, namely if you look at the 10 line. This is sadly something you see your teammates do very, very often. And that is, well, I mentioned it in my Republic vid. Your teammates love sailing to the borders, to the edges of the map. Now, in a domination battle, it's not that big of a deal, because there's generally an objective near that place. But in a map like this, it's incredibly rough, because the whole purpose of the map is getting capture control, getting central control, and in this case, my team is doing their best to abandon this central control, this cap control. I keep asking my gearing to give me intelligence data, because I know there's at least one DD in front of me, and there is in fact the Grozovoi, and there's also the Harugumo who gets radared by the Des Moines. Obviously, I use this opportunity to push in. I want to get closer. I'm giving my Des Moines enough space to reverse out of the way first, because he's taking the brunt of the hits right now, but I do want to get into a position where I can potentially radar and finish these targets before they can disengage. The Grozovoi had a broken engine, and I'm not sure if he'll be able to get out. He does not get out, waiting for the torps to run out. At this point, my Des Moines has been doing a fair bit of the tanking. Now I'll let him back off and heal, and I'm gonna take that point position. He used his radar, he used it very well in fact. We got vision of the DD, we got the kill on the DD because of it. And now he can back off and heal, and it's gonna be my turn to push up, see if I can maybe ambush this Haraguma, who hasn't yet seen me because I'm behind the island. Note that vision in this game is based on the central part of your ship. That's why, even though I could shoot him, he couldn't see me, because the central part of my ship was still behind the island. Now this is exceptionally useful on the Alaska, that it's such a big ship that you can peek out your front guns and you can shoot ships without them realizing that you're even there, because they can't quite see you yet. I pop my turn of the radar, trying to finish off this Haraguma. Note that even though this is a supposedly large cruiser, you do not have cruiser dispersion. As you can see there, the cruiser dispersion is a bit more trollish, it's battle cruiser dispersion, so there are situations where you think you should have gotten a kill, but then it gets away. The second volley though is enough to catch and finish off the Haraguma. They have both the Hindenburg and the Kremlin on this flank now, so I'm just going to reverse right back behind the island and play it safe. Because if you look at my team, they are slowly but incredibly steadily winning and moving away from that position on the flank, and I really need them to come and help me. Because the Des Moines and we're stuck. We helped secure this flank, we helped secure the central control, but we're kind of stuck here, and the enemy team is pushing up hard on that flank. We have a Shima to delay them, and a Shima on the flank actually works pretty well if the team is pushing up. The problem is he gets radared and killed. So we're about to get boxed in. You saw once again I was able to shoot without being detected. That's because that center part of my ship was behind the island. And I keep using this because that's what you should do. This is an optimal situation for the Alaska. You get to peek out, use your front guns at very close ranges. If you take too much pressure, you can just reverse behind the island and dodge this big incoming fire. So positions like this are fantastic. Obviously, a position like this becomes significantly less fantastic if you introduce a carrier to the mix. But that's just life. I have defensive AA slotted on the Alaska, but it's probably better to run Hydra these days, because defensive AA has just been so brutalized. It's really starting to look dire now. This position, it's collapsing very, very quickly. I keep requesting support, trying to get our team to help, because this Yamato pushing up, well, he's an issue. He's not that much of an issue because you got, what, 36mm central plating, central deck armor on the Alaska, which means that while he can overmatch your nose, at this range, a fair bit of his shells is going to be landing on your deck armor, and you are able to bounce it. You also have a very low citadel, so it's unlikely that he'll get any big devastating hits, but he's still a threat, and more importantly, the bigger threat is those two Alaskas pushing him up from the flank. However, the Yamato might not kill me, he might kill my broadside Des Moines. That's why I'm trying to get rid of him ASAP. My Des Moines is actually playing it pretty smart. He's positioning himself nose in against the Alaskas. I touted a lot of the good things of the Alaska, the incredible AP and how tanky it is, but in a straight up nose fight against something like a Des Moines, it will lose the DPM battle horribly. It has no chance of taking on a Des Moines, because you can't overmatch the Des Moines nose, and when it comes to just straight up HE trading, no one beats a Des Moines close range nose to nose. And that's exactly what my Des Moines is taking, a nose in fight. The problem is that in North Carolina is there as well, and NC's guns can of course overmatch that Des Moines heavy cruiser bow. At this point I decide I can't do anything more about this Yamato, let's just hope he doesn't kill us, and I need to reverse and turn my guns and help my Des Moines as much as I can. And they have two Alaskas pushing up. My Des Moines is focusing them both, getting a lot of pressure in, but the more he reverses, the more vulnerable he becomes. I get a double fire set on me, I assume by the enemy Smolensk. At this point, I'm just trying to get into a position where I can kill him. Note that I'm giving a ton of broadside, but this is not something that I generally worry too much in the Alaska. In other cruisers, this would be very suicidal. In the Alaska, your citadel is so very waterline. It's barely above the water, and that is generally very hard to hit. My Des Moines looks like he's actually going to go for the ram on the Alaska, which I don't mind at all. That's actually a very good play from him, and I'm pretty sure I complimented him after the game, because he was my partner in this, and he played his radar well, and he sustained well. I'm trying to angle as much as possible to bounce any NC shells on my citadel armor, but more importantly, I'm trying to get my front guns underneath his turrets. Even if you don't get citadels when you're shooting underneath the turrets, you'll probably break his guns by hitting the barbette. And that's exactly what you saw there. I broke one of his guns, and he probably doesn't have damage con after fighting the other guy, so that reduces the damage that I take significantly. I aim for the same spot again, Pins, but no kill. This time no broken turret, but he's very low, and I'm hoping that maybe my secondaries or the gearing support will be enough to kill this guy. I'm taking shots from both the Yamato and from this guy, but thanks to that incredible Alaska resilience, I'm able to sustain it. And this is something pretty much no other cruiser can do. There are, I mean, sure, something like Stalingrad, although there's a risk of being Citadel with the kind of broadside I gave. But in general, when it comes to tier 9, no other cruiser is quite as tanky as the Alaska. As long as you maintain angling, as long as you allow yourself to disengage every now and then get heals off, you are an absolute monster. I peek out again, you see, I can shoot him even though I was undetected, and that's using those front guns around the island once more. This allows me to always, whenever I'm detected in this game, it's because I choose to be. I've never been detected because it wasn't my choice. I get detected because, well, I'm literally pulling the trigger and getting myself detected. I finish off the Kremlin as well with some AP. We're still alive. We got about 77,000 spotting damage thanks to our radars, and in general thanks to just holding this flank and giving my team vision around this island they would not normally have. Took a pot shot at the Smolensk. He was actually too fast. Did not manage to kill him. I do want to go for another shot on him generally because Smolensk is such a huge threat. He angles away though and just straight up runs away, so I switch to the Yamato. We're going based on biggest threat. That's what we're killing here. Ships that can become huge issues and get us killed. Something like Richelieu, not really an issue. That Alaska behind my back, sure, he can come steaming out around the corner, but I can just accelerate away. As long as I maintain angling, he's not going to be able to do that much damage to me.
Our team has taken the lead.
In fact, if I do manage to get rid of the Yamato, it's even better because that's one less threat that can threaten me this game. I get him, he's very low, 2 shatters. At this range, of course, you have no chance of citadeling a Yamato, but at close ranges, you can absolutely get those citadels. The Alaska goes for the push that I was expecting, but there's no reason to panic. There's no reason to take any extra stress out of this. My guns finish off that Yamato in front of me. I make sure to turn in to the right so that I'm not giving broadside to the Richelieu in case he decides to shoot me. We switch to HE because he's angled and he's low HP, so HE will guarantee the kill most likely unless RNG really hates us. But no such issue. We aim for the superstructure, and aiming for the superstructure we get the Kraken and the kill. I'm trying to turn hard left. The Richelieu turned away, and I actually gave a bit too much broadside there trying to get that kill. And there was a chance that the Richelieu could have gotten some big hits in, but this team on the flank has finally kind of arrived and become useful. Note that I'm able to switch ammo type so quickly because I'm running either John Doe or Halsey, which has improved the expert loader, which obviously is god tier on the Alaska. Because you constantly switch ammo type on the Alaska, HE-AP, depending on the situation. Hindenburg gives broadside. Normally he has a turtleback, but Alaska has those improved pin angles, so you are actually able to score citadels even on ships like that. The Alaska is the ultimate cruiser killer. Even something like a Hindenburg, a tier 10 cruiser, not really something that scares me. We started out with him having the health advantage. That health advantage, well, it's gone in the second volley. Alaska is an absolute monster. It's one of my favorite ships because a well-played Alaska can single-handedly turn games around. You can delete cruisers, you can delete DDs with the help of that radar, and if you get into a brawl with a battleship, because your citadel is so very hard to hit and you got such hard-hitting guns, you can just straight up citadel devastate enemy battleships. I've done it, especially to Soviet ones. You get close enough, you will even be able to citadel them. So on the power scale, obviously it's far above all the other tier 9 cruisers. There's no point pretend. You can't. Your compliment has been received. That's me complimenting my Des Moines buddy there. He played this entire situation very well, which is rare in World of Warships. Hence why I'm calling special attention to it, because I like when people play well. That entire situation would have been so much harder if he just charged out and instantly died and left me alone. I would probably have died. They would have pushed through this flank, surrounded my remaining teammates, and we would probably have lost. Small things make a big difference when it comes to the outcome in World of Warships. The game ends. Not in terms of damage, perhaps the most impressive game. 169,000 isn't anything that special. First Blood, Kraken. We got some Citadels, we got some Fires, standard Alaska stuff. Looking at the team score, 2,600. Okay, it's a pretty good game. I would say pretty good game because it was mostly tier 10 matchmaking, and Alaska of course fits extremely well into tier 10. I mean, I mentioned it a bit earlier, but you can't complain that Stalingrad, for example, is an overpowered ship and then not acknowledge that Alaska tier 9 is just straight up overpowered as well. That's just the way it is. There is no other cruiser that can do the things Alaska can at tier 9. It's an absolute monster at its own tier. It could easily, I would say, all you'd need to do is maybe give it a bit more dispersion or something, and you could easily place it into tier 10, and no one would bat an eye because the ship is that powerful. Anyway, and if you get the blessed tier 9, which happens quite often, you're up against tier 7s, where you can even overmatch some noses with that AP. I mean, it's just brutal. It's just absolutely brutal. Detailed report wise though, here are some of the things that of course make it stand out. 108,000 spotting, which for a cruiser is excellent, and 1.6 million potential, yet we were quite healthy at the end. That's that durability, that's that damage you can tank in this ship. Didn't maybe shoot as much HE as I could, but then again I was mostly shooting broadsides, so the AP is pretty damn solid at that. Alaska is a great ship, and honestly, if someone disagrees, I just have to say you're not playing this ship right. Alaska is a powerhouse, and when you mention overpowered ships, Alaska should be in that list. Anyway, let me show you guys my recommended build for this one. Right, as usual, let me start with the modules. You should be running premium damage con, premium heal, premium radar, and then most likely premium hydro. I'd love for defense. Honestly, the carriers are the biggest threat. They are one of the biggest dangers you will face. The problem is that defensive AA has been neutered to the point that it's so hard to recommend using it, whereas Hydra at least maintains its old use and it's still its old strength. So yeah, just go Hydra Acoustic Surge. It saddens me to do this because carriers are a threat, or the biggest threat. They're a much bigger threat to me than DDs are, but the problem is that defensive AA as a consumable is just so worthless that I cannot recommend it to anyone. Upgrade wise, turret survival, you do a lot of nose-in tanking in this thing. Radar duration, if you don't cancel radar duration, then run Hydro duration. If you don't have that, then run actually, you don't really need engine room. Just go damage control systems if you don't have either. Second upgrade, better dispersion on your guns. They are your bread and butter. Faster rudder shift. The additional tankiness is an option, but remember, this is actually not that clumsy of a cruiser. It doesn't handle that bad. So building for rudder shift allows you to open water gunboat quite well in this ship as well. So Alaska does well in every situation. That's what makes it so powerful. You can sail around in the open, take pot shots, you can HE spam someone pushing in from range like any other cruiser, or you can turn in, nose in, and just go tank and brawl anyone you face. It is a great ship. Concealment, and finally main battery mod. With the concealment you get that, oh, it was 12.2, I remembered it being just 12. Oh well, small correction on that then. Captain build wise, priority target. This is actually, if you look at it, you'll probably notice, wow, that looks just like your battleship build. And that's because it is. You build Alaska very, very similarly. And that's actually a really nice thing, because if you have, for example, Halsey, you can specialize it on the Montana, and then you can just freely move it around. Oh, I want to play the Ohio. Let's move it to the Ohio. I want to play the Alaska. Let's move it to the Alaska. You can use the same captain on all these ships, and it works absolutely flawlessly. Priority target, Adrenaline Rush. Superintendent, you do go Concealment Expert before Fire Prevention on the Alaska. So Concealment Expert, follow it instantly with Fire Prevention. Expert Loader, Expert Marksman, very powerful, and especially the improved one, gives you a pretty snappy turret traverse of 28.9. And finally, Jack of all trades. Flag-wise, the full Battleship Monty, which means fire reduction, healing, speed, faster consumables, flooding reduction. AA, I mean, AA is kind of a meme these days, but hey, better AA is good. Detonation isn't that necessary. In general, I would probably not recommend detonation on the Alaska. Instead, just run maybe fire chance flags or credit flags, considering it is a tier 9 premium, so you can make some really good profits with it. In general, I played the Alaska. Well, I have 144k. I probably played a fair few games on this account as well. I played every account I have this ship on. I play it a lot. Even on this account, what do we have? What's our Alaska win rate? Alaska, 77% win rate, and I play only solo. The average damage isn't maybe that big at 100k, but it's just Alaska is great at winning matches. Alaska is absolutely fantastic at turning games into victories. And I've seen so many Alaskas misplay this ship lately that I just had to make a commentary on this thing. It's a great ship. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. If you feel like dropping me a sub, I greatly appreciate it. I will see you guys next time as usual.